Hey y'all! I'm back with a new project and I'm so excited to share it. I'm a millennial and I've decided to convince my boomer parents to sit down with me and be recorded in podcast form. Now, I don't know how long this will last or how far this will go, but for the present moment, I'm just staying on the journey. Both born in Virginia, retired and in their 60s, my parents, Claiborne and Jenny, have been the epitome of success to me. As of August 28th, 2023, they have been married for 47 years. That's right, 47 years. And in this first episode, I wanted to get the tea. I wanted to know all the ins and outs of marriage for 47 years. I wanted to find out the proposal story, the wedding details, and is marriage really as hard as people make it seem? It was truly a delight to record with them. However, in true boomer fashion, everything in their home makes noise. And of course, this episode was recorded in their home. So bear with us with the audio. You're going to hear some phones going off and some computers going off as well. But again, we're just getting started. So pray for studio time soon. I hope that you enjoy this interview as much as I did recording it and listening to their stories. They dropped some really great gems, and I hope that it uplifts you and inspires you in some way. So without further ado, here's episode 1 of what I like to call From Our Point of View. Okay, so Mom and Dad, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good.
I'm feeling very good.
Okay, so the first question is, where are you guys from and how did you meet?
Okay, I was born in Lunenburg County in Virginia, and we met through two best friends. My best friend and his best friend had wanted us to talk, and we was like, we don't know each other. So we decided just to talk as friends while they were dating. And we just talked as friends. And one day he said, I feel comfortable talking to you. And so we decided to started dating after some months of just talking as friends.
So what were your first impressions of each other?
Well, mine was okay. I don't know him personally, but I have heard of him and seen him. But I was like, okay, let me see who he is and what he's about, And I learned from just talking with him what a humble person he was and how he was real nice and, always said things that encourage you. And even as friends, he listened to the problems that I was going through, and he was just there as a friend and encouraged me, and he said, you just feel like a person that's, humbled and down to earth, and kept encouraging me and always was there to listen to me just, talk about everyday life things. And we felt comfortable with each other after so many months of just talking as friends. And he was, of course, attractive. And I said, well, maybe this person is interested in me, because at first we was like, we don't even know each other, what we're about. And then after those months of getting to just talking basic things, it kind of grew like we started trusting each other. Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Well, I knew her through her family, her brother, because I was in school with them, with at least one of her brothers, and I knew her sisters because they knew my sisters, and so as she said, that was just one of the aspects of it, and we got to talking, and things progressed from there.
Let's go through your family history. So both of your parents are married?
Yeah.
Yes.
How long were each of your parents married?
My parents was married 50 plus years until their death.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Mine's also were 50 plus years.
Okay, and then you both have siblings. How many?
I have 11 siblings.
Okay.
I have two.
Okay, and both are all of them married?
All of my siblings are married, and I have one, some of their spouses are deceased. They are now living as widowers, but basically the others are all married and have children and, children and grandchildren.
Both of mine sisters are married. Of course, one is deceased. Have children, and of course, grandchildren and even great grandchildren.
And so you both also have children and grandchildren.
Yes, we have 3 adult daughters, and then we have, at this present time, 4 grandchildren.
Okay. So now I'm going to get details on just relationships and your wedding and marriage in general.
Okay.
So the first one is, how long have you been married?
We have been married for 47 years. It's August the 28th of 2023.
How did you propose? What was the proposal story? What were the details on that?
Not like today's proposals, because I knew that this was a woman that I was going to marry. So it was a case of a simple proposal of, let's get married. It wasn't nothing elaborate or off the wall, but it was simple because that's the lifestyle that I lived.
Okay. So you said you knew right away.
Oh yes.
Okay. A lot of times, in my generation, we talk about if you don't know by year 1, then that person doesn't want to get married to you. Do you feel that way? Do people automatically know right away that they want to get married, or does it usually take some time?
Depends on the person. In our case, because of our surroundings and our upbringing, I knew that this was the person for me. I wasn't a so-called person that had a lot of girls that I associated with or mingled with. And so when she came along, it was just a feeling that I knew that we had the same type of interest. So I felt that if, in fact, we did get married, this would be the one.
Okay. So talk about the wedding day. What was the wedding day details? Why August 28th? What was going on that day?
We were choosing that date because he was looking at going into the military, and we was trying to get the perspective, because we were saying, okay, if we're going to get married, it should be something that you can afford to take care of family. So he was looking at going into the military that year, and so we called his sister and her husband, which was a pastor, and they performed the ceremony at his mother's house. And just simple, because he's such a humble person, and I think that mainly attracts me to him. He's so humbled, and and I was looking like, do he really want a person that not a star, outstanding spoken person in life, but he still felt like the thing that he said, you're so easy to talk to, and I like that in you, and with other people out there he could have chose, and I was like, he's choosing a simple person. I'm a simple person, and he still said, and I would always ask him, if everything in life, would you marry me when we start dating? Am I a person you would marry, was one of the questions. And he said, yeah, right away, no thoughts, a lot of relationship, if you're dating person, and if you're not willing to do this or that with them, they will automatically like, nah, I want her, you know. But we were just talking. I said, would I be a person you would marry? And he said, right away, yes. And that right then said, okay. That was the most important thing, was him answering yes, with me having not a lot of money, you know, or cars or anything. And he said yes, and, you know, was sincerely yes.
And so, what were you wearing that day?
Just basic clothes. We didn't have a gown.
Okay.
I didn't have a gown, just basic clothes. And just a humble ceremony. And we know that if we took that and got married with humbleness, that we could face anything, you know. We didn't need the glam and glitzer, and we still were in love enough to get married, you know, without all of those, all of the material things of life that people call a wedding. But a wedding have to come from the inside. A marriage have to come from the inside, and what you make it.
Right. Okay, so you're married, you have this humble ceremony, there's no reception, there's no anything like that. Now on to, you have to start you're starting a family.
Right.
What were your feelings on that? Did you do any financial planning or family planning when you decided to start a family?
The financial planning was to go to military to be secure.
Okay.
And so we basically was saying that would be security, because I was like, you know, I would want security if we get married. So the military was the financial stability that we chose to follow, you know, to cover family. And
Yeah, it was a case of at the time that we came along, there weren't a lot of jobs, to speak, that you could raise a family, but to have some type of accountability, or so to speak, you had to kind of get out of the community, and that was one of the I don't want to say the escapes, but it was one of the ways to get out and to have things that you just couldn't get from a small community for a family. And I didn't want that. I wanted something different.
Okay. So, the next thing is, what are your, just in general, the ebbs and flows of marriage? Like, how did you deal with issues or drama or anything like that? Like, what really makes a marriage? What did you guys deal with?
Now for our marriage, personally, I think it was first, you know, you have the love and the trust, but to make those work, you have to have adjustment.
Okay.
To learn how to adjust to the adjustment of the other person feeling, and that what made our work. We understood each other feeling, and even though I'm the outspoken of speaking on what my feeling, he was more the humble and reserved, or like, I can fix and keep the family happy with his humbleness, doing it, you know. He'd rather do it than to talk, and we had to learn to adjust to each other feeling. So I call it adjustment, allowing adjustment with the love and trust to the other person feeling.
And on top of that, I call it compromise. A lot of relationships don't understand that particular aspect of it. Yeah, you want different things, or you want more things, or you want better things, but in some cases you have to compromise. You have to give to get. And once you start that type of communication, things will begin to flow, not smoothly all the time, but you'll be able to get through situations.
Those are really good ones. What are your views on gender roles? So basically, the generation talks about gender roles and patriarchy in society of, you know, women stay at home and child rearing and cook and clean while the man goes and works and brings home the money, and that's all he does. I know growing up with you guys, I didn't really see that. You guys both cooked and cleaned and took care of the kids. What are your, you know, ideas on that? Because
in this generation, some people want that the woman does this and the man does that.
Right, right. Like I say, it depends on what works for the couple. Now, with our generation, with me first starting, it was me trying to make sure my children were safe, and he would work. And then as we got them up to age that they could kind of defend for themselves a little bit, then I would go out and work. It was things what worked for the marriage and for the family. And sometimes you have to have two spouses working to take care and provide for the family of the things you want your family to have. So we based our decision on what was the family need at that time. So, and I always was raising my children, as you know, get your education that you can provide for yourself in case a marriage or a spouse doesn't work out for you, but you can take care of yourself. So I think with the generation things, I think you should be able to take care of yourself, just in case there is, like my sisters now, they don't have a husband, but they're still able to go forward.
Right.
So I just think it depends on what you desire in your relationships and who you are.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, when we were coming along, that's what we saw. The man was a so-called breadwinner or the worker, and the woman, she took care of the house, or she provided the nurturing part for the kids. The generation of your age, you all do that, but you rely on someone else, a nanny or a babysitter. They raise the kid, but they don't raise it based on maybe your thinking. And a lot of the people that we had you all with had like-minded thinking. They had either raised kids or saw how kids were raised. And so that's the difference is, as far as the working, I knew I was going to be doing some type of work because, like I said, when we got married, it was my understanding that, hey, that's what you provide for, because that's what I saw. Not only in my family, but all the men that I knew of were either out working, providing for their families. And like you said, once the kids got up a certain age where they could depend on each other, then they were able to go out. But it wasn't a case of this is all you're going to do, raise the kids, and this is all we're going to do. We realized that the situation was going to eventually change.
Gotcha. Okay. And what are your views on life outside of marriage? Not just being a parent or a partner. I know, what other hobbies and things that you do outside of it so that you're not just consumed with married life all the time?
Earlier years, I had the pleasure of going out, being on a softball league, a ladies softball league, and we played softball constantly every weekend, and that was something that I enjoyed doing, and it kind of like just gave me a relaxing feeling of being on that softball league with other women. As I've gotten older, I've learned to take night out with my sisters, night out with friends, and we go do fun things that each one would want to do, and like birthday times, I would do something with friends to celebrate just the girls, or something that I like doing. I love sports and love games, so I'll take those times and go out and do those things. And I think that what works for our relationship, that we give each other time to enjoy the things that we like as a person, individual. We don't just cut that off, And so I continue to do those things for myself, go out shopping or, but just having lunch with the girls or with the sisters or, girls' night out and stuff like that.
Okay.
Most of my time is either spent working out. I that's not a hobby, but it became a lifestyle type of situation. Because as we evolve into our older ages, that's what one of the things we tend to not do is to take care of ourselves, health wise. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to do, and that's why I got into the working out. It wasn't something I was always doing. I was always athletic, but I became focused on the fact that I needed to become healthy because I had young kids at the time that I wanted to see them grow up and be successful and do the things that they wanted to do. And so that's was one of the hobbies that I had. The earlier years when I was in radio and all, that was a thing that we could do a little traveling around in the community because that was something that wasn't being done. That was a new avenue, a new ground that we were going through. So those were some of the things that I got into.
Okay, and in your marriage, how do you guys deal with stress?
We have a strong faith. That's one thing connected us is our faith. And we do a lot of praying individually and then together, once we've gotten to a level of stress and we can feel each other's stress level have gotten, so we'll pray together. But our faith help us deal with stress, and then we'll I'll go for walks, go to the Y or somewhere and just take walks, but our faith gets us through a lot of the stress, I feel.
Yeah, my faith, I have learned that if I can't solve the problem, you don't need to worry about it. And as I even grow older, I feel that way. I can do all I can do humanly, but if there's nothing that I can do in the physical, then will have to let it go. And so I've learned that, and this goes to the working out, that also helps relieve stress. That's one of the things that they say, running, lifting weights, all that, because it gives me a chance to get out and clear my mind of different things. And so that's why my stress level is, I try to keep it low because, like I said, the one thing that you can't do, if you can't solve the problem, there's no need of worrying about it.
Okay. How do you deal with finances in marriage?
Now, the way we've been handling it, we try to sit down and we write out everything that's due, and then we look at our income and we try to plan ahead to make sure that it's going to be covered, and just talk about discussing which route to take to cover everything based on the income that we have.
The basis of finances is try to have it so that you don't outlive your means. What we do, or what I do, is try to ensure that the things are paid that need to be paid, and set up a plan that on those days or dates, they are paid. So you don't have to really constantly worry about it, and make sure that you have something. And if not, then like I say, you have to go back and make those readjustments. Because if you don't, then you'll have situations where you'll come up with double bills or something like that. And my philosophy is, if you can't pay one, then how are you going to pay two?
Right. Good advice. So there's a big thing about marriage being hard and difficult and exhausting. My question to you guys is marriage really as hard as people make it seem?
Well, for our marriage, it have not been hard, and I can't believe it's been 47 years. And like I say again, living life, you have to have a purpose. And if you make marriage your purpose, it's just part of the living life. Mm-hmm. So anything that you do, whether it's a marriage or just living as a single person, it's what your purpose is in life. So I think marriage is not hard, it's difficult. If you're gonna live life and that's what you choose to live as married people, you work on it, and like again, it comes to adjusting and accepting the adjustments to make it work. And for us, it's been healthy. For us, it's been a healthy relationship. And some people, marriage is not for them. But for us, it's been a healthy relationship. And I think if you're getting into marriage, you have to learn how to make adjustments and accept them with the love that you have for that person. So if there's love, if you love that person in a marriage, I don't think it's hard. I think it's a thing of learning how to adjust and accept the adjustments.
Yeah, marriage, it isn't hard. It's just that people make it hard. If you're getting into a marriage based on the physicality of each other, Father Time is going to eventually take care of that. So if you're going to say, oh, I'm going to get married because she's pretty or he's handsome, and you stay together any length of time, Father Time is going to change all of that. And so at that point, that's when you're going to become a Roman, so to speak, that, oh, well, maybe it wasn't the right one for me. But you have to understand that when you get in there, it has to be a case of, I take it all, physical, mental, spiritually, to make it work. Because if you're at one aspect of it and that aspect changes, that's when the marriages become difficult. Because if you're looking for something and it's not there anymore and you're looking outside of it now, but the person that you really eventually marry, that's what you had in the beginning.
Okay, so this next segment is not so rapid fire. I'm just going to say random things, and I just want you to give your first thought that comes to mind or opinion on it.
Okay.
So the first thing is zodiac signs. Do you know your zodiac sign? Do you know anything about what that is, or?
I know mine is Capricorn.
Capricorn, okay. Do you know what that means? In my generation, we use zodiac signs as a personality trait. So if somebody says, oh, you're a Capricorn, they might say, oh, I don't date Capricorns.
Oh, no, I don't judge people by their signs at all.
Do you know yours?
Mine is Aquarius. And I never really thought about equating a so-called zodiac sign to a person's characteristics. So to me, it's just a sign of the times. That's what they were calling it back then, the age of Aquarius, and that was all it meant to me.
Okay. Do you guys know about the age generations? About like boomers, millennials? Do you know anything about that?
Oh, yeah. We are the so-called boomers. I know a lot of the boomers, like I said, when I was growing up in the neighborhoods that I lived in, everybody knew everybody. Everybody's parent knew everybody's kid knew everybody's parent, and they respected them. And not just the parents, even the guys on the outside. That's what was the foundation for us being strong, is that I saw a lot of strong men other than my father in the neighborhood.
Do you know about the 5 love languages?
No, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so the 5 love languages are how you receive or give love. So, and they are acts of service, which is doing something for someone, receiving gifts, giving or receiving gifts, physical touch, words of affirmation, and quality time. From my experience of you guys, I feel like maybe acts of service and quality time are like the top 2.
That's what I was going to say. He's more like an act of service back, giving to me gifts, and more of like he'll show his love through cards, and like going back to like if we have a discussion and like you were saying about the stress, he will write out a nice letter, but it always will have the word love at the end of it. So he's more giving gifts than the one that you said
quality times,
and we have decided, in the later years after you all have grown up, that we will try to dedicate at least once a month, to not forget to spend quality time together, to keep the relationship, So it's more quality time for us, for me, because he's more not spoken of love, he show his love from action.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of people get things wrong with saying "I love you." Love is actually an action word. You can say you love this house, or you love that car, or you love this person, but if you don't show the action of it, some type of action, it really doesn't mean anything. Because you could say "I love you" and be as mad as you want to be, but you're still saying you love them. But you got to show that particular action of it, and that's what I try to do, is be more in the moment and show the action of what love means, or what love feels like. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short of, is they say, "Oh, I love you," or "I want to hear I love you," but after that, there's no action with it.
Okay, for this last segment, it's my idea of an ideal marriage. So I'm just going to give you what I think an ideal marriage is, and then you just give me a yay or nay if that makes sense, or if I'm being delusional and that would never work in a marriage. Okay, so the first thing is prenups. My partner must sign a prenup. I'm looking at marriage as a business contract, so we need to make sure that our business is in order before we say I do.
So we give a yay or nay?
Yay or nay on if you agree with that, if you think that's going to work.
I say yeah. Nowadays, because like I said, you just don't know, or you just don't know the person the way that they were when we were coming up. And if you're materialistic, or if you're looking at a certain thing, then you need to, I think, have a prenup where you can have an understanding that if something goes awry, that what we came in with, we're going to leave with. And you're not going to try to take whatever it is that I have that you want. Not because you want it, but because we're not going to be together anymore.
You agree or no?
I'm kind of like, if you have got to that point, I think maybe because I am a boomer, that you already have known the punch. You would need a prenup. Because of the love you have for one another, and you have the same vision, you have the same dream, and you're not planning on separating. That's where I went into mine. I wasn't looking for us to separate. It was for the death do us part. So, I'm kind of like, with it being a business, like, it takes away from the meaning of marriage in my concept.
Got it. Okay, next thing. Couples therapy and individual therapy.
Now, it depends on the couple themselves. If you have an issue, you can't work it out, I believe that therapy is for them. But like I said, with us, our upbringing, we were built on faith. And we know that if we pray and fast, we really believe that in our marriage. And, if we get to that point that for the 47 years it's been working, but if we get to that point, I don't have a problem. If you think you need a therapy and to discuss it with you, it's an option. But as I say, our faith is stronger than a lot of people in marriage because of our upbringing. But I believe that it depends on the couple that may need it. Don't count it out. Always use what you have to keep the marriage together.
Anything else?
And I'll just add to that, when we talk about therapy or therapists, I always get the impression that the therapist is just like I am. Who are they going to when they are full? When all these people are dumping on them constantly, who do they go to outlet? Are they going to a therapist, or your therapist is going to a therapist, to going to a therapist? Not saying that it's wrong if that's what you need, but that's my take on it, is that when you go to a therapist, and the information that they give you, I want it to be a one type of therapist. Don't let me go to the therapist that's already had a problem like mine, and they're just pulling it back to me, saying, "Oh, this is a therapy I gave to someone else. Maybe it'll work for you."
Gotcha.
So that's what my take on that.
Okay. For me, the next thing, this is my ideal marriage: no kids at all. Yay or nay to that? What are your thoughts on married couples with no kids at all?
Well, some people, don't need kids if they don't have that maternal instinct, and it's okay not to have kids, because you still can help other kids that's in this world that don't have parents and donate time to those kids. But I think a marriage can work without kids. Some women, if you think about it, some women are born that they cannot bear children and have had wonderful marriages. So, I think marriages can work without children. Both parties need to understand that when you go into it, if it's not a medical reason before you, say I do,
Yeah, I think particularly nowadays, I would think that without kids, it's fine, because, like I said, the world that we live in now is totally different than the world that when I came up in, and so if that's something that will make the marriage work, then, like you said, both need to communicate that we're not having any kids, and it's not because maybe you don't want them, but you know that you've seen how kids are now, how to raise them, and how tough it is. It just won't work for you.
Okay. The next one, for me, a dream would be separate homes that is connected by a bridge. And then you meet your partner at the bridge, but then y'all go back to your separate places.
For marriage.
For marriage.
I think not to have separate homes, but have separate spaces in the home.
Okay.
Because being married means united.
Okay.
And you haven't united if you on a bridge and they on a bridge. So you're not united. So it's good to have my space in your home that you need that time, because you do need time from each other sometimes.
Okay.
But I would suggest a my space in the home.
Okay.
Because united means you're together.
I agree with that. That's something that you're probably going to have to work on before you even get to the marriage part. But if for some reason it isn't, then you need some type of a getaway space or a private room or a spot that you can get away and gather your thoughts and see what the next move will be.
Okay. And the last one is bank account. Separate, joint.
There should be a joint account. Should be for bills or whatever. And then if you want a separate account for your type of spending or luxuries or whatever you want to do, then it should be. So it shouldn't be case on one account, but it should be a joint account for your necessities of life, house payments, car payments, bills, or whatever you got. And then you have your one that where you can have fun with.
And I just agree with that, saying like if you're doing your business owner, of course you would have a separate account, but far as the household, as your marriage, doing, like he said, the same, is he saying about building the house and mortgage and, intake, I think there should be a joint account for that, because if you have one that's doing it with one account and the other one not on it, and something happened to that spouse, you can't get
Right.
into that account to make, keep the expense up, for that purpose I was thinking. But, you can have both.
Gotcha. So, the final two questions. What would you tell your younger self? Or what advice would you give your younger self before getting married, knowing what you know now about marriage and your experience?
That there it will be some bumps in the road, and there will be some struggles, and that you get married a lot of times the happiest day of your life, and you don't foresee that some things will come up and arise. And so I would tell my younger self, be prepared, as we have done and overcome those things, that just because you married don't mean everything gonna work out perfectly. But you still can remain together and get through it.
Yeah, I agree with that. My younger self, I probably would have said I should have, in some instances, stayed the course on dreams and all, but because there were things that came up, I was still able to pursue those dreams in a different venue, and was able to succeed at it. And so, irregardless of what happens when you do get married, there may be some times when you wanted to do something, but you just couldn't at that time. But now later on, I'm able to. So I would say, just stay the course.
Okay, and last question. What advice would you give to people now, or my generation, about getting married?
That if you gonna get married, get to know the person and get to understand the values, whether it's religions or belief on if you're gonna have children, the way you want to raise children before you take that step. And remember, if you're gonna say I do, remember that you should have the love for that person, the trust, the respect, and always remember there will be adjustment that you have to make for the other person feeling in order for you to all to compromise and come together and still be on the same page to make it work. But you can make it work. You can make it work if you put your time and your love in it and understanding in it.
Okay.
I think the number one thing that I was saying in your generation is to push every button on the person that you're going to marry.
Okay.
To make sure that when y'all joining a union and you touch one of those buttons and he or she goes off, it's not a case of now you got to go to divorce court and all that, but you can walk away. You know what to expect. So push those buttons. Make sure you know that, if I say such and such, this person is going to explode. Or if I spend this money, this person is going to get crazy. So let's push those buttons and find out everything you need to know about the bad side of them, because you don't want to marry a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Great answers. Any other last things that you'd like to share about 47 years?
47 years. It's been a ride. We've had our ups, we've had our downs, we had our good, we had our bad. And as I look back over them and think about it, even to when we were raising you all, y'all made us laugh because we sit back sometimes and think about. I was working a different shift. I was working nights. She was working days. She would get off. I would be in the back, passing you off to her as she come in the door. I'm going to work. Or the next day I'm getting off and she's going there. And it just, it's been a ride. It's been an experience. But it's been a teaching moment for us to grow better. And now we're at the point now that we see the steps that we took and we see the outcome of it. And I don't think we did such a bad job.
And I would just like to say, because when we did decide to become united and become one, we always put our faith and family first, and always do that. And we just believe that we did what we thought was right each day of our life for our children. And the greatest gift of this marriage was he still stayed humble, still respected me, and still to today, will do anything for me. And just shown that he was that person that day said, yes, I will marry you. And the joy of it is that we see each one of our children happy. Nobody gets that. That's the simplest thing in the marriage, is to see your children succeed and knowing that they happy, and that shows your work. That shows the work that you put into it. And I always wanted my family to be first and get that joy of life, and that what made me happy. So that's what I said. For 47 years have been blessed years with someone that I know truly God put us together.
Well, there you have it. Episode 1 is done. From our point of view, featuring my parents. Every episode, I'm going to present them with topics and questions and just get their natural reactions. And also give my point of view. If you have any questions, topics, or anything you want my parents to answer or give wisdom and advice on, please comment below and let us know. Thanks again for listening, and stay blessed.